Hello everyone, I'm Rick Bayshard, and thank you for visiting my channel. Today I want to speak about what is considered the screams of the ego. If we look at this world and this existence that we seemingly have from a science perspective, it should result in making us wonder why we get so caught up in this world. I watch some shows on YouTube about quantum mechanics and the size of the universe. One person was using a way to try to get us to understand the size of the universe. And if the Milky Way, for example, was the size of the United States, the sun would be the size of like a cell. And then, of course, Earth is in that solar system, the sun. So here we are on this planet, this rock, seemingly, as bodies. And in the scope of this universe, okay, the size of it is beyond what our brain can fathom. Yet here we are in our world we call our lives. And fundamentally, what do we really do? Well, we try to ultimately be happy. But that really comes at a struggle because in our perspective, happiness is going to come from the world that we're in being the way we think it needs to be for us to be happy. And if you're over 35, you probably realize you can't make that work. You know, the world's never going to be what we want it to be. And again, the reason that is because it is the ego within the split mind that made this world. So here we are in this little rock, okay, with an incredible amount of problems that we've actually made in order to try to keep us distracted. If we just look at human experience, I think humans have been around for 250,000 years, it has been perpetually a conflict. I mean, whether we look at, the Revolutionary War or the Civil War, and I remember in the 60s, with Walter Cronkite and the Vietnam and Beirut and Lebanon, and then there's the Iraq War, and here we are in our current lives, and it's our war within the United States, so to speak, the way we are so polarized and how we see differences. And if we go back, the 1700s, 1600s, the Crusades, I mean, the bottom line is this world is perpetually at war within itself. And those are the screams of the ego. They are purposeful because those screams are so much noise that we don't really hear the quietness of the love and the Holy Spirit within us. And again, these screams and these noise that the ego has made is purposeful because we are caught up in trying to put the screams out. And as history shows, we can't. They're always going to be there. And we're just talking about a national or international level. Just imagine some of our Thanksgiving dinners or family events, that the kind of separateness and divisiveness that goes on. I'm sure that some of us are able to express love within these environments, but for the most part, the world as a whole and people as a whole operate with our ego, and in so doing, we see differences and we make judgments, and those differences and judgments are important to the ego because they're saying that it's what's outside of us that is the problem. And we want that to be the problem so we don't ever have to go within and look at the problem that we believe we have within at the mind level, which of course is always the same problem, that within this dream we've left our source and we feel guilty for that, and we've made up a God that we believe is going to come after us. And so what happens is, again, in this world with all the screams, it's a perfect environment for the ego for us never to look. And it's the ego dynamic. It's the ego's way of us never going within and choosing a different teacher. And so the approach that we want to take with this understanding is to not necessarily ignore the world. I mean, we want to be in the world, we have to breathe, we eat, and we want to vote, and we do what we need to do. But whatever it is we're going to do in form, we want to at least remember within ourselves what the world is and what it's not. So that as we go through our lives, as we go through our lives, we want to come to that place of understanding who we are and what this world is and what it's not, so that we can be at peace with it. Because if we think this world is our home and that the world made us, it only makes sense that our only attempt is to try to make it the best we can, and we can't, because you're going to have cancer, and for goodness sakes, the sun's going out in 5 billion years. So there's always this emptiness and fear within us, even though we try our best to try to make it the best we can. It's kind of like, rearranging the chairs on the Titanic, because the ship is sinking. And so no matter what we do to try to make ourselves happy, even if we can move that ball a little bit forward, there's a part of us that realizes the ship's going to sink. And so what the Course in Miracles is trying to help us do is always to intellectually get, metaphysically, philosophically, what the world is and what it's not. Because it's that intellectual perspective that allows us to be in this world with the understanding of why people attack each other, why I attack you, so that I can forgive myself and take that back from you. And in so doing, it releases you. And it's always about how we want to interpret the world around us that's going to determine if we're going to be at peace or not. But we can't reinterpret the world if we don't have another way of looking at it. And that's what the Course lovingly does, is provides us a basis for understanding what the world in our lives and who we are on a whole nother level, a whole nother perspective. Now, that is a process of assimilating, because we do think this is who we are. And it's not going to happen overnight, but if we realize the world doesn't work and the pain of trying to do it our way will ultimately bring us to that point that we're going to say there has to be a better way. And so the screams of the ego, the world, historically and going forward, even when we're on another planet with, goodness knows, aliens, there's always going to be conflict, because that's what the ego does. Conflict, separation, differences. And whether we're talking about aliens, or talking about I'm a Catholic, you're a Protestant, or I'm a Christian, you're a Muslim, or I am a cis male and you're a transgendered male, I mean, for goodness sakes, we have got to stop. We're going to see differences, but we want to see past them and not judge them, because everybody has that heart. Everybody has that love, even what might seem like the most cruel person to you. Now again, it's not that you're not going to, be a human and be a judge or be an attorney or be a cop or be a parent and do what you have to do. But if you have the right teacher that you have identified within, you'll approach all your life with an attitude of empathy. You'll see everybody struggle, and you will begin to be at peace with this world, even though the world around you is making so much noise and so much screams. So I think it's important to recognize always and remind ourselves, even as we're in this world and with all the noise and all the screams of the ego, that it's just that it's the purpose of the ego to make this world to be a place where we do not look within. And so the world's not going to change. What changes is how we interpret this world. And it's in that reinterpretation, per the metaphysics and per the teachings and principles of A Course in Miracles, that will allow us to be at peace with wars, with cancer, with somebody in a relationship with us leaving us. We want to realize that in this world, as humans, we have this scarcity, this lack. We feel terrible about ourselves, and we want to blame the world for that. But if we go within, we will learn that we're none of those things, that we are as God made us, which is love. Okay, I'm using words, I'm using love here to describe or point to what we must be. Obviously it's abstract and words can only point to what that is, and as the Course says many times, it's not going to teach you what love is, because that is beyond what can be taught. But we can use words and we can use our experiences here with others that reflect that love by not judging them, by being human with an attitude of kindness. And we won't do that perfectly, but again, wanting to is all that's necessary, because it'll be a process over our lives that whereby we can come to that place where we can see the world differently and we'll be at peace with it. And it's at that point where we really have removed all the stuff that hides love's presence all around us, and we virtually wake up. So thank you very much for watching this video. If you found it interesting, please feel free to subscribe and hit a like, and I will try to get more videos out a little more frequently, but I appreciate your patience as I start this channel, and I hope you have a very loving and wonderful day. Thank you.